had to say. I've just picked out a quote from him. This is what he said. "We can't have too many days like today, that's for sure. We were really poor on the day. When you have performances like that, you can only hold your hands up and say the better team won. We started extremely sloppy in terms of possession, cheap turnovers, passing the ball out of the pitch at times without being under any real sort of pressure." Here's the match stats from the game. Now, even though we dominated possession, again, what troubled me overall was that Motherwell had more shots. They had more shots on target. We had 8 off target. We only created 3 opportunities, real good chances on Saturday. Look at the corner count. Mentioned it before. They won 4 corners in the first 12 minutes of the game, which troubled me. So let me know what you think. We'll be reading out your comments very shortly. But first of all, let's speak to Richard Wilkinson, admin on Facebook from Aberdeen Football Club, the Beach End Boys, Good Win Vibrations. He's also the owner of Beat 106 Scotland. So Richard and I spoke at length about the issues on Saturday, and this is what we had to say. Hi mate, good to see you. I'm sorry to drag you on again after another defeat.
I will remember this.
Oh dear. I was hoping to get you on in better circumstances, but hey, here we are. Next time, hopefully after next weekend. Right, mate. So where I wanted to start with you really is, as I mentioned at the top of the show, one of my biggest concerns about Saturday was that I just felt we never settled. We never got into any sort of rhythm, which made me think there were too many similarities to last season. Have I got that correct, or am I thinking a bit too deep about this?
I think so. I mean, I think you look at the football on offer, and as as you say, how they started, and just it just felt a little bit. Have we entered the twilight zone? Have we gone back to a level of football, a pace, and the poor passing, and just it did look like glass era football. I don't know whether it was an era, but we've talked about before that the 4-2-3-1 for me is that, given that the changes that were made to put Scales at left back, you don't mess with. To me, I'm no football coach, but you don't mess with a centre back pairing, and so we're going to talk about it. The McCrory to centre back thing just feels like the Jimmy Calderwood's tombola. The talk of let's just it just kind of, when you looked at the team on paper, you just kind of went, oh, hang on a second, I have my concerns about this. For the first the first 20 minutes, half an hour, I mean, Miovski's miss one-on-one could have made things a whole lot of difference, but ifs, buts and maybes. The football on display just really kind of a little bit of alarm bells ringing.
Yeah, you see, I felt that after St Mirren we'd taken 10 steps forward, but after Saturday we'd taken 20 steps back. That's where I felt we were. So where do you sit with the whole Ross McCrory centre-back midfield argument? And you mentioned this 4-2-3-1 formation, which Jim seems to favour. Where are you now with that? So,
okay, the first thing with McCrory at centre-back, no. I mean, it's early days, and I'm not quite soiling my undergarments just quite yet, as some fans are out there, in terms of, I think Saturday undeniably a massive disappointment. So the back four you had starting was Richardson, Stewart, McCrory and Scales, and then you had Clarkson with Ramadani in defensive midfield, and that just feels so counterintuitive to that whole back six. We saw what happened at Celtic when Scales couldn't play. It was disrupted. And, people talk about, the team have got to have time to gel. Well, changing things around that way isn't going to help. Certainly the back three in terms of the goalkeeper and the centre backs gelling. Yes, there's a problem with left back at the moment, and whilst it was great to see Jack McKenzie, get back on eventually, as a result of Kennedy's injury, and that in itself a whole other conversation. But you don't mess with that. I mean, people saying, "Oh, if we'd only had Considine," well, we have Bates. Maybe three at the back was an option. Have three centre backs at the option. At the back on Friday or Saturday. I don't know. But don't put Ross McCrory as centre back. Put him in, developing that relationship with Ramadani in midfield. Have Scales, obviously, we love them so that they can do their gelling. And then in and around that, you play with what you have available. And, I said, whether that was three at the back, I go back to the point about 4-2-3-1. That seems to me, and again, I'm no football expert, that seems to be so predictable now. And I went back and I looked at all the Premiership games this season. And of course, there's not been many. There's been more losses in terms of teams that have set out at 4-2-3-1 than there have been wins by a considerable margin. It's about 60-40. And I think teams know how to adapt to how to not counterattack, but how to counter 4-2-3-1. You see teams like Livingston and what was it, St Johnstone and other teams coming up with these different formations. As a starter for 10, I'm very much of the belief that we should be having two strikers up front at home. I mean, come on. You've got Miovski, you've got Duke who needs, fitness. You've got Ramirez. I don't know what the thinking is there, but give these guys the chance to play up front and score goals. If the defense is a bit shaky and a bit unpredictable, score more goals than you lose. That's how you win 3 points. So I just think 4-2-3-1, we've definitely got the players when fit to do it and deal with it. And as you said, against St Mirren, comfortably handle themselves. But, it goes back to that, what's the plan B? And that's a conversation that's happened many times under Derek McInnes of going, if we can't, break teams down, what do we do? What happens next? And Motherwell, to give them their credit on Saturday, didn't seem too bothered by it at all.
No, I must tip my hat to Steve Hamill and Motherwell on Saturday because, and even the manager came out and said after the game, at the end of the day, the better team won. I was really impressed with them. I felt they were more combative in midfield, which I felt that we did not address on the day, which was a big issue for me when I was watching the game. I'm certainly not panicking. I'm not panicking, but I just have that niggle in the back of my head where I'm just thinking, oh, please don't go back to what happened last season. Surely we've now progressed enough not to have that sort of performance in our locker again. So until we settle, and I want to use the word settle, I don't want to use the word gel, let's use the word settle, until that time comes, which I hope it will be on Saturday against St Johnstone, is there still a vulnerability about us?
I think there's definitely defensive vulnerability. I think that Saturday clearly showed, again, I don't know whether the pitch was overwatered, or whether they had the wrong boots on, the wrong studs on. There was a massive amount of slipping around. Richardson slipped in the box, and I can't remember whether that was the first goal. There was a number of slips. But the defensive vulnerability, Stewart at the end, I think, nearly gifted a goal away. McCrory had a pass back, I think, that led to a goal or a wayward pass. Scales also. And so that the back four, I think, were all guilty in some way, shape or form of making mistakes. And again, you could put it down to a bad day at the office, but if they're all making mistakes, if one of them makes a bad mistake or two of them make a bad mistake, but all of them at the same. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're talking about one or two players, to come in. Yeah, one of those is definitely going to be a left-sided, sort of defender. I think whether that's a left-sided centre back. Obviously depends what I don't know. Bates is a right-footed centre back, and we don't know whether he's staying or going. But that defense needs shored up a bit. Again, question of whether you would be, giving some of the younger kids a bit of an opportunity. You've got obviously Jack McKenzie coming back in, but these are all guys that want to play. Certainly McKenzie wants to play forward, like Ramsey did as well. The two of them last year. Again, the question was, instead of putting Scales at left back, do you keep Scales and Stewart and put Johnny Hayes at left back on Saturday? So I'm not panicking, as you said. I think but the signs are there to go, if, a little bit of tinkering, a little bit of thought, kind of goes into a little bit of plan B, mentality. It could be a very easy slippery slope to last year. I genuinely hope it's not. But, as I said, without panicking, I think I hope there's enough of a squad depth there, but there needs to be that level of adaptability. And I think, there certainly wasn't that level of adaptability quick enough on Saturday. And, I would like to have seen us gone out and, with a confidence, with a swagger, going out from the offset and, basically from the, like the St Mirren game just finished, and having that mentality of go out and get goals. Maybe because we were up against 10 players against St Mirren for so long, maybe there was an arrogance that, this will be easy. But you're right. I think there should be a small amount of reflection of what happened on Saturday. And as you say, this weekend, be better, do better, score more goals. And hopefully, the concerns about defence won't reemerge. But I have a feeling we might sort of be going back and talking about, the Motherwell game in the future. I hope we aren't, but I have a feeling that this is a game that might come back to sort of for conversations in the future.
Okay, mate. Mate, brilliant. Thank you, as always, for coming on. Lovely to hear from you. And
lovely to see you. And I said, please only invite me back if we win.
I'm going to hold you to that, okay? Only
Great to see you, mate.
All right, pal.
Cheers.
See you soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you, Richard. Always great to see you. Just let me check that the sound is working. Yes, the sound is working. I'm really sorry about that earlier. A few of you pointed it out, so thank you very much for jumping on board and letting me know. A couple of you with some really funny messages. Kaiser said, nay, working, a bit like Aberdeen's performance on Saturday. And Scott said, I have no doubt you're making some excellent points when you couldn't hear me. The best points I've probably ever made. You'll never know. I just want to read out some of the messages that you've been sending me, because your interaction tonight is absolutely fantastic. So, a lot of you were praising the young lad Shaden Morris who came on. Many of you thought that he was positive whenever he got the ball. But many of you were worried about the formation, what happened when Leighton went off, the change of formation, all that sort of stuff. I hope I pronounced this right. Skoz Kaur says, one injury caused 3 changes in the team. We need more defenders in the door, not wingers. Third game of the season, Scales played centre-backs only once. That's not good enough. I've got to be honest. I just want him in there. Obviously, he couldn't play against Celtic, but I take your point. Fraser Gunner said, much preferred Hayes up the park. He always gives 100%. Scotty lad, this was something that I mentioned on the Big Saturday Football Show on Saturday when we lost the second goal. Why are we not putting defenders on the posts? It's schoolboy stuff, isn't it? And I was absolutely baffled by that as well. Kaiser says we looked very disjointed. Scott W has also said it's important to keep a sense of perspective. We were brilliant last week. We were equally as bad this week. But it happens sometimes in football. Let's not get too down about one result. Okay, so as you know, I do ask for you guys to get involved here. And I also like you to contribute so that people can see you and meet you as well. So earlier today, Stuart Mearns from Aberdeen sent me his thoughts on Saturday's game.
Well, Ali, that was a complete and utter shambles on Saturday. Defensively, we looked like a team that had never played together before. Needs to be sorted out. Anthony Stewart, I really do hope that was a one-off. Some horrible signs creeping in, very similar to last season. McCrory needs to be in midfield. What a difference he made when he moved on later on in the game. Positives for me, Shea Morris would be our positive. He's still a little bit weak. Maybe needs a bit more physical side of him in the SPL, but that'll come. Certainly worth sticking with him. Matt Kennedy, I know he's taking a knock, but it's worth leaving Shea in the team, I think. Going forward, this could be a one-off. It's onwards and upwards for Saturday. I think Jim knows himself, even with his press conference, that there was mistakes there, and maybe his selection, and if he looks back in it, he might agree that it wasn't the best selection, but hey, it's a learning curve. We're only 3 games in. Onwards and upwards to Saturday, and hopefully 3 points against St Johnstone. Take care all.
Thank you, Stuart. So that's, again, if you're watching for the very first time, you're more than welcome. What I'm looking to do is to get your input as much as we possibly can on this show so that you can vent your frustrations, you can have your say. The only thing I ask for is no bad language on the programme. So going forward, would love to receive all your videos and your thoughts. Okay, I want to finish on a positive. So on this day, back in 1903, Aberdeen Football Club, after the merger of Aberdeen, Victoria and Orion, became what we now know as Aberdeen Football Club, played their first ever game. We drew with Stenhousemuir in front of nearly 8,000 fans, and when I was doing a little bit of research today, the gate receipts from that game tallied between 104 and 108 pounds. And I thought I'd show you this. This is our first ever goal scorer, Willie Macaulay. He signed for Aberdeen only that season, the 4th of May 1903. He made 69 appearances for Aberdeen, scoring 21 goals. He will go down in our history books as Aberdeen first ever goal scorer. Right, guys, we are done. Thank you again for all your input. So many of you tonight on YouTube. It's great to see. It's great to see how we're building as well. So many thanks for your support. So we will see you again on Saturday for the preview show ahead of St Johnstone. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you again very soon. Thanks, guys. Take care. Good night.